Live from the RCL studios in beautiful Columbus, Ohio, Memphis Heat.
The Grizzlies still there. The Nuggets, the Mavericks, the Pelicans. Those are four strong teams right there. The Nuggets, the Grizzlies, the Pelicans, and the Mavericks. Man, like I would hate to be in the bottom part of the conference to have to go play one of them at their place for 4 out of 7 games. It's gonna be hard, man. Nothing against the Warriors, the defending champs. The Suns are pretty good. Clippers and Kings, but man, it's gonna be tough, man. The West. I feel like the champion is gonna come out of the West this year.
I think so too, and I think that the Warriors. I think that they know. I think they know that they're going to have to maybe turn it on a little sooner than they want to, just with the way some of these teams are really starting to play and starting to tear away, like Memphis and Denver, like, and even New Orleans, like, and the Mavs. Like, the Mavs are stepping up too. Like, some of these teams are really, really good, and I think that they might. I think they're going to need to find their rhythm and really put the pieces together here in February. You know what I mean? Kick it in gear a little sooner than probably what they would like to.
The reason why I mentioned like the having to go on the road and play these teams, let's take a look at the top 4 teams in the West. At home, the Nuggets are 16-3, the Grizzlies 15-3, the Pelicans 17-5, and the Mavericks 16-6 at home. So a lot of these teams aren't really giving away at the top, aren't giving away home games. But then you're gonna take the bottom 4. You got the Kings 9-9 on the road, so they're 500. You got the Clippers 10-12 on the road, they're below 500. You got the Suns 6-14 on the road, and you got the Warriors 3-16 on the road. That home court advantage is gonna matter, man. I know the playoffs is a different ball game, a different league and everything, but look at the standings and where those teams are. Teams that are winning at home are at the top. Teams that can't win on the road, they're at the bottom. Same thing out east. Just take a look at the East. You got the Celtics 15-5 at home, Nets 13-5 at home, Bucks 16-5 at home, the Cavs 18-4 at home. Then you go to the bottom half, everybody's below 500 except for the Knicks on the road. So you got 76ers 8-9 on the road, Pacers 8-11 on the road, Knicks 12-8 on the road, and the Heat 9-11 on the road. So if you can't play great on the road, you're gonna have a hard time being the bottom seed trying to make it to the conference finals, man.
You're going to be in trouble. And let's not forget the Detroit Pistons 5-14 at home. How about those Pistons?
No surprise they're at the bottom.
Who beat the Warriors? And if I finally got around to watching that game, that buzzer beater by Sadiq Bey.
Great shot, man.
That was a great game, man. So I am, and I know you feel this way too. Like, for those of you who don't know, while we're talking standings, and these teams aren't necessarily in it now, but do not sleep on the Magic or the Pistons in the Eastern Conference. Those teams are going to be great very, very soon, if not next year.
Beat the Warriors last week too.
Like, they are going to be great.
Yesterday.
Yeah. Yes, and they beat them for the season.
They swept them.
They beat them for the season, as did the Pistons. So, I'm just letting everybody know, because not a lot of people are watching them. Do not sleep on the Magic. Do not sleep on the Pistons. Those are kind of our Rob and I's honorary second teams, if you will. So we both follow those guys, and they're good teams, man. They're young, but they're really good teams. So Franz Wagner just needs to stay the hell away from Killian Hayes, so he doesn't get knocked out.
Plus, Bo's been out for like a week or so too, so that hurts the Magic a little bit. But they're young. They're going to keep adding talent to these rosters since they're going to be high in the lottery, and it's just those little things, like you got to be able to win at home. Everybody with low home records is at the bottom.
Yep.
Everybody with low home records is at the bottom.
And like I said, and we've talked about before, like with Golden State putting it in cruise control early on, that's fine for now, but they have to improve. They're not going to be at home if they keep going the way that they are. And you can't be 3 and 50, what is it, 3 and
It's not gonna
16?
work,
Like
man.
that's not going to work. You got to get that to at least 500. So, and they can, but that's rough, man. And if you're not at home in the playoffs,
And
what are
the
you going
thing
to
about
do?
the NBA is most teams struggle on the road. If you look at all right, the best teams
Yeah.
in the West are 10-10 on the road. The best teams in the East are
Yep.
13-7 and 14-8 on the road. And pretty much everybody else is below 500 again, like I said, on the road. But it's like
It's
everybody's going to struggle on the road except for a couple teams here. But if you cannot win at home, you have no
Mhm.
chance of doing nothing in the NBA.
But just to to your point though, like the teams that are in it and are in the playoff hunt, they're around at least at that 500 mark, if not better. So, and that's not counting the West. The West is just that's in the Eastern rather. The West is just like, but even then, like the teams that are in it still really are around that 500 mark for the most part, with the exception of the Suns and the Warriors. So, like they might be 3 or 4 games off of 500 away, but they're not, they're not like awful, like 8 and 15, 3 and 16. So,
Yeah.
got to step that up. So.
And in other news, I think LeBron is, I think I said about 470 points away from being the all-time
Yes.
scorer. I'm excited for him though, honestly. Like I think this is what he needs to kind of get away from the whole Jordan thing. In most people's mind, he's never going to be better than
I think
Jordan.
so too.
At least in my mind, I know me personally, LeBron is the number 2 player I've ever seen. He's not better than Jordan. I don't think at this point there's nothing that he can do to be better than Jordan. So it's like I think to get away from the chasing Jordan, he has to create LeBron.
Here's what I'm gonna say. I agree with that 100%, and I think you're right. That becomes his thing. But I've got one more little tidbit to throw in here. Isaiah Thomas, he's been talking, and he's been talking a lot. But here's the thing, Isaiah Thomas and those Pistons are rising up my all-time list, my all-time greats list, my all-time teams list, because of what they were able to accomplish and who they beat. Like he beat Larry Bird, he beat Michael Jordan, he beat Magic Johnson and Kareem. He beat the Hawks. I mean, he beat a lot of really good teams. The thing that I think gets Isaiah Thomas, obviously, besides the whole attitude and walking off the court and like how the team was with the hard fouls and stuff, is he quit playing early. Like I think at 33 he was done. So that doesn't help me either, because Joe Dumars was still playing into the late 90s.
My thing about that Pistons team is this.
Like-
All right, this is my take on them. It didn't have longevity, like you said. Like Isaiah didn't last a long time, and
Nope.
okay, you have a good 2 or 3 years where you are playing at an elite level. But how does that trump the Cavs going to 4 NBA finals in a row? How does that trump the Warriors going to 5 NBA finals in a row? How does that trump the Heat going to 4 top championships in a row? Because let's look at the Heat. They beat Dirk Nowitzki, Hall of Famer, legend. I mean, they lost to them. Okay, so they played against them. But the next year they beat the Thunder, who had James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Russell Wilson, who all going to be MVPs of the league. They're all on the same team. Then they beat the Spurs, which was probably the best dynasty besides the Bulls I've probably ever seen. I think Tim Duncan, what 5 out of 7 times. Like the Spurs were 50-win teams every year. Like I think it wasn't until after those guys retired, like
They're good.
that they didn't win 50 games a year. They were a hard team to beat every year, and LeBron and the Heat beat that squad. So it's like, how do the Pistons even rank against those type of teams to be, for Isaiah to be complaining like they're as elite as he think they are? They're a great team for their time, but I'm not even sure if they're an all-time great team as far as like a dynasty is concerned. They just had a good run.
Yeah, they had their 2 years. I think there was their 2 years where it was their time. They had the team put together. But that's a good point. And one thing that I don't care for the LeBron Jordan thing, but how many times in a row, or how many times has LeBron made the finals? Isn't it like 12 times?
10 or 11.
10 or 11? I mean, come on, that to me, with the all-time scoring list, that's
I think
just
it's
for
10.
me
He made it
personally.
10.
To me, 10 times. That's incredible. Like, I don't care what anyone. I don't care about the wins, losses. That's dominance. That's just pure dominance. To make it to the finals that many times, that's crazy.
He said he beat Jordan. He didn't say he beat Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman. He beat Jordan. That right there is just not enough. Like, LeBron and Wade and Bosh beat James Harden, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook. You know, let's even go back to that Laker team that three-peated.
Yeah.
The Lakers
Yeah.
three-peated. The Pistons didn't even three-peat. The Houston Rockets won back-to-back. So did the Pistons. Like, how are they so much better than the Houston Rockets when they won their back-to-back? The Lakers three-peated. In one of those seasons, they went 15-1 in the playoffs, like the greatest playoff run. I think that was the greatest playoff record ever, to go 15-1. They almost swept through the whole NBA in the playoffs. Like, the Pistons team, they were good teams, man. But Isaiah's kind of, he's doing it up a little bit too much, man. Like, he just wants his recognition and wants credit, and Jordan took that away from them, man.
And I kind of get it. Like I think I get what you're saying too. Like, I think what's happening is there's a little bit of
course.
jealousy there too, because he didn't have the big shoe contracts. He didn't have the longevity. Like, as far as, like, you ask kids about Isaiah Thomas now, they're not all going to know who Isaiah Thomas is. They're all going to
Right.
know who Michael Jordan is. But they're not all going to, I think that's what it is. And between him and Magic, like, I think they're kind of the same on that. Like, they've got and Magic's not as outspoken about it, but Magic missed the boat on that stuff too, like, a little bit. Now, don't get him wrong, he had a little bit more because him and Bird had the Converse deal. So, like, he kind of had it, but not to the level that Jordan had it, and how crazy
Yeah, but
that
Isaiah
got.
missing out on the dream team.
I
and all that
think
stuff
he
hurt his
just-
feelings too. So
Yeah, that was a big part of it too. It's hurting his feelings still. I think he's definitely top 5 point guard all time. But like you said, as far as, like, the all-time dynasty for the teams, like, that's a tough one, man. Because there's been so many great teams, and then that's not even counting teams before our time, like the Celtics, like the runs
I
with
don't
Bill
count those
Russell.
'cause I
Like,
didn't get a chance to see them.
so,
I barely
like-
got a chance to see the Pistons, but I know enough about it to
yeah,
kind of comment a little bit on it.
yeah. Anything before the 80s, in my opinion, is tough because they just didn't have television coverage to show much of anything. You know what I mean? To really build a case, like as far as me being able to watch it, you just kind of have to take a lot of people's words for what was going on, and really you only have the box score and the scores to go off of. So it's tough.
And I get what Isaiah is saying to an extent, because if you look at some of those Bulls teams in the 90s, they were full of ex-Piston players. So it's like that pedigree, that style of play from the Pistons. Jordan ended up picking some of those. Well, I don't want to say Jordan picked them up, but, you know, Robin ended up playing with them, and a couple other guys, John Sally, ended up playing
Yeah.
for the Bulls. So
He was getting into that too, because he said all he did was pick up. He hated that style, but then he picked up Oakley and Rodman and Sally, and so I
he
can
had
kind of see
Oakley
his point
already.
a little bit
Oakley
on
came
that. So
first.
yeah.
But I get what you mean. Like, I get what he's saying. Like, that's like saying, hey,
Yeah.
we hate the Warriors, but then we go out and get Klay Thompson, and we go out and get Jordan Poole, and we go out and get Andre Iguodala and add him to our squad and win with him. So,
Yeah.
but I just feel like Isaiah Thomas is just salty because he doesn't get the shine that Jordan, Bird, and Magic get, and he's kind of like the next guy up, and he's got to say, wait, don't forget about me. Look what I did.
I think he has to do that a lot too, like, because he's not in the same breath with those guys. Like, Kareem will even get brought up before he
I mean,
will.
which you should, man. Like,
Just the way it goes.
but you just gotta be humble about it. You don't
Yeah.
see Hakeem Olajuwon saying, "Hey, I got 2 rings," and you don't see Kenny Smith going around saying, "Hey, wait, throw me up there as one of the greatest point guards in the history. Like they give everybody credit. Isaiah's he's pretty much just their run just wasn't long enough, and that's all I feel about it. Like they didn't have the longevity of some of these other dynasties. I wouldn't even put them above the Lakers that three-peated in, went back to back a couple years later. It was a good run, but it just wasn't that great.
And that's the thing. If anyone should really be mad, in my opinion, it's Magic. Because if Magic doesn't come out with the HIV thing and isn't allowed to play, who knows how many rings Magic gets?
But the Bulls had already beat them before then.
He got
Jordan
5.
was already Jordan by then. Because I think Jordan's first ring was versus the Lakers.
He was.
I think. It was either first or second ring was versus the Lakers. So Magic was still playing. The Bulls beat him. And he was kind of on his way out then.
Yeah.
But they were still relevant.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
But it could have been another ring or two, or you know what I mean, and maybe it kind of negates some of the all-time Jordan talk if him and Jordan have the same amount of rings.
Jordan's just a different animal, man.
So,
when you get into Jordan's accolades, five-time MVP, 6-time champion, 6-time Finals MVP, slam dunk champion, defensive player of the year. I think he was like 9-time scoring champ.
That's what separates him. Like that's to me is what absolutely separate and what people don't understand, and I think that's the biggest debate in the greatest of all time, is the defensive player of the year stuff. That is huge to me. To me, only to me. Like you are winning a scoring title, and you're the defensive player of the year. Like that's crazy.
Up, man.
You're just that means.
I think we talked about this before. I think Jordan won like scoring champ, steals leader, defensive player of the year, like offensive player. I think he won like all this and like a championship all in the same season, man.
Crazy. That is crazy.
And Isaiah Thomas's claim to fame is
that's where
me and James Edwards and Bill Laimbeer and Dennis Rodman and John Sally and Joe Dumars, we beat Jordan and Charles Oakley. That's that's not a good argument, man.
We used to have Rick Mahorn beat the shit out of people.
Yeah.
and Bill Laimbeer. I know what you're saying. Yeah. No, it's just I had to bring it up because it's been hitting again, like him talking about it again. Like he'll tell anybody that wants to listen. So
I mean, I like listening to him, man. I respect Isaiah. He's definitely a great guard. He's a great player.
I do too. Oh
those
yeah,
Pistons, man. Like those Pistons are going down in history. They're going to talk about the bad boys forever. So he made his mark, and I just think. And I go back to my argument about LeBron. I hate when they compare what mark you made to each other, because that's when the issues come. LeBron has always been a team player and a stat guy. Like he's always put up numbers. It's only right that he puts up the best number out of anybody that's played the game, because that's what he's done. He's been the points guy. He's been the assist guy. He's been a rebound guy. Like it's great that he's going to finish probably in the top 10 in most of these statistics ever. But when it comes to being a champion, that's Jordan. Jordan's the champion. LeBron's not the champion.
No, he's not. And he's a champion. John Stockton, in my opinion,
greatest point guard
is
ever.
The greatest point guard ever. Pure point guard. I'm just talking pure point guard. Assists is the qualifier. No one's going to break that record. I don't, and not my lifetime. I just don't see it. They just don't play. Guys don't play like that anymore. So, and they don't run the pick and roll like that anymore. So, but LeBron James, he is the all-time points leader. He is the career man. He's going to have the career numbers, like just gobs of numbers and tons of finals appearances. But he never. Here's one thing I think this bugs me. He never wanted to be the scoring champion, or he would have been. He could have been the scoring champion more. I don't care what anyone says. That guy, he could go out and get those points every night if he wanted to. That's not him.
A lot of these stuff too. It reminds me of like the whole Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith thing. If Barry played the same amount of time as Emmitt Smith and had anywhere half the line that Emmitt Smith had, Barry Sanders would own every rushing record you can have.
Oh, it's not even close. And he didn't play as long. Like it's not an argument. That's very similar to the Jordan LeBron thing, because it's like, look, man, you can't touch Barry Sanders. Let's just those were horrible teams. and he made all his own yards, and like you had the best offensive line your
Let's
entire
take
career.
Jordan, man. We'll take. He got injured one year, only played like 20 games, so that's 62 games out. He retired
Yep.
and went to baseball for a year and a half. Came back. He retired after his second three-peat. Took like a couple years off, then came back and played again. You had 7 more years on it. You had 6 or 7 more years on the Jordan's career. He'll be up to he'll be the all-time leading scorer too.
And without starting at 18.
Yeah.
I think that's important too. Like, no matter what someone says, that's important. Like, you give someone another 4 years to score points.
Yeah,
that's
but you got
important.
and LeBron's
Well,
defense, you
and-
got to be good. So let's not leave that part out of it. Just giving you 3 year
Yes.
advantage doesn't mean
Yes.
you're good enough to score
Yes.
30 points a game in the NBA coming right out the back. So I give
Yes.
LeBron the edge on that.
But that being said, to Kareem's point also, where I would give him a little more leeway, I guess, and throw him into this conversation. He's the greatest, if not the greatest, one of the greatest college basketball players of all time, and probably the
And that's
greatest.
the thing about it. Like everybody's
So-
got their own thing. Kareem's probably the most accomplished basketball player ever to play the game. When you talk about every level, he was a champion
Yep.
in high school and college and the pros. Like that's Kareem's thing. He's
Yep.
great at it. And nobody jumps in Kareem's lane and try to take over Kareem's thing. Everybody wants to jump in Jordan's lane. When you talk
Nope.
about Oscar Robertson, only person they compare him to is Russell Westbrook.
Mm-hmm.
They don't say, "Hey, Oscar,
Yep.
you were average a triple double back then. You're the greatest basketball player the world's ever seen." It's like, nah, he was just a great all around player. He's probably one of the best all around players we've ever seen.
Yep. Just a
But
complete
that's
game
LeBron.
player.
And LeBron's the best all around player you're ever gonna probably see. Let him be that.
Mhm.
Don't compare him to Jordan. Let him be
Absolutely.
the greatest all around player ever. Let Hakeem be the most skilled big man ever.
He
You know what I
does
mean? Like
not-
give everybody their flowers.
He did not have 6 years where he was Defensive Player of the Year, NBA champion, MVP. He didn't have
It's
it.
crazy, man.
So that's to me, like, and that's what people are saying why he's the greatest, because he dominated like no one else has. That's what I think. That's what keeps getting missed. Is it's about that body of work. So
Like I said, nothing against LeBron. LeBron's great.
I
Isaiah's great.
think-
All these guys are great, man.
yeah, oh yeah. Just talk for the conversation and the different places that these things need to be put in.
Yeah, you
I
don't even get in
feel
this
like.
conversation unless you're great. Like, we're not mentioning the old Denver Nuggets point guard Robert Pack from the 90s. You know what I mean? Like, nothing against Robert Pack, but you know what I mean? Like, when you talk about great basketball players, you're talking about everybody in the NBA, because guys from their neighborhood, from their state, you have to be great to make it to the NBA. You have to be really good. So
Yeah.
just being in the NBA,
Yeah.
you're a great player. But to talk about the best, you have to be
Yes.
one of the
Yep.
one of the top people that's ever walked the planet in the sport, and that's hard to do for anybody.
Yeah, and it's getting harder and harder because now it's a global
Yeah, so
game.
Now you have to be the best in the world.
Like, that's the thing, is like 10, 15 years from now, you're going to see guys from the Philippines, like you're going to see, like, South America's going to come, like Asian countries, people are going to come. I mean, you've seen Yao Ming, but there's going to be a lot more than just that. Like, and the NBA is aggressively expanding. There's NBA Africa.
they're
You're going to see
talking
more
about
guys
adding
coming from
expansion
Africa.
team in Mexico.
Like,
In Mexico City,
I
they're
think they
talking
should.
about, I think they were mentioning like the Seattle Supersonics coming back. I forget the other team they said, and creating a team in Mexico City. No, I think it was Vegas. I
Pittsburgh
think it was
is
Vegas.
in the
I think it was
conversation.
Vegas.
Vegas is in the conversation. To me, and this is just me being selfish, I want to see a Pittsburgh NBA team before a Mexico City. But Mexico City would be way cooler. It's just me being selfish. Pittsburgh should have a team. I think Cincinnati should have a team. That's just me, but definitely
I
Pittsburgh.
think if they're going to do it, they're going to tap into a market that doesn't exist. They've already tapped into the Seattle market. They just got
I
the
think you're
football
right.
team in Vegas. I'm not sure if if the NFL wants you putting another NBA team where we just got a football team and we're trying to dominate the market over there. So I think Mexico City will get it.
And Seattle has 4 letters, Nike. Like, they will throw money into an arena this time. They're not going to mess around and lose that again, because that was a big loss for Seattle to Nike when they ended up
you gotta
leaving.
think,
So
like, the only basketball team in Canada is Toronto. They're sold out every night.
yeah, they talked about putting another team back in Vancouver again.
So you put a team in Mexico City, these guys will follow.
Yeah,
anybody that, like, they'll follow that team. And most of these countries have, I don't want to say most of them, like every country has their pride. America has their pride, but we just have 29 teams already. So you put one team in Mexico, oh man, they're going to love that, whatever team that is in Mexico City, if they put them down there.
it'll be huge. Oh, it'll be so huge. Like it'll be a big stadium. Like that may be like almost like a Silver Dome situation where they build a bigger arena just to have all the people in there, and then the NBA has to look again at what the arenas in the United States are and whether or not they could do more there.
I don't know if it would be that large where they need like a dome like that, but I just know. Look at boxing. Just look at boxing. Look at soccer. Like the sports that they have.
Oh yeah,
they support them.
Yes.
Before I get off track, let's get back to the Jordan argument. Because I pulled up the stats. We got 6-time champion, 6-time Finals MVP, 5-time MVP, 14-time All-Star, 3-time All-Star MVP, 10-time All-NBA first team, All-NBA second team, NBA Defensive Player of the Year, 9-time Defensive first team, Rookie of the Year, All-Rookie team first team, 10-time scoring champ. 3-time steals leader. 2-time slam dunk champion.
And 10-time defensive all first team, right?
Let me see.
10 times.
9-time defensive first team.
Nine times. He's the best defensive point guard, or excuse me, shooting guard in the league. That's nuts. Yeah, there
Ridiculous,
it is,
man.
I mean,
3-time athlete
there
of
it
the
is.
year.
So.
Jersey retired by the. I don't know if you know this one. His jersey is retired by 2 teams. What teams are those? I know the answer to it.
Bulls and the Wizards.
Yep, Pat Riley retired his
Really?
jersey when I forget how long after Jordan retired, but I know he said they'll never have anybody wear 23. So
That's
they were talking about doing it league wide, but I know the Heat ended up doing it.
They should. No, they should, and they should have a little while ago, to be honest. But it's coming. A lot of guys wear it though.
LeBron was wearing it for a while. Like, I think it's
only
right, man. Like, if you wear 23, I mean, I don't see what the problem is retiring the jersey and just letting guys still wear it though.